Abraham said we got a right person. I doubt that. I'm just one of you. When I was assigned to take the session, I had to do a lot of homework, in fact. Even though we are all involved in strategic planning for a long time, and at different levels, I see that we engage in strategic planning as different levels, and our understanding is different. And so I personally believe this is a great topic that we need to understand and move forward. So pray along with me as we go through this. It would be a great learning for all of us, and for me also. I am expecting to learn from you as well as we go through this process. Let me just share my screen here, and I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. I really also appreciate the Southwest leadership team for including this topic for the staff development. And so it is one of the most important topic that all of us as leaders need to understand and learn. Well, strategic thinking is simply an intentional or rational thought process that focuses on the analysis of critical factors or changing factors, variables that will influence the long-term success of an organization or a team or even an individual. So it's an intentional or rational thought process or thinking process. It can affect our success, our productivity as a team or individual or as an organization. So it's very, very important when you look at strategic thinking. So today, or in this whole learning process, I would like to cover these content, those things that you can see on the screen, an introduction to this topic, and then asking the question, why strategic thinking? And then to understand what is strategic thinking, and then to end with to begin a process of becoming better in strategic thinking, how to develop in strategic thinking. So today we will not be completely finishing all the learning sessions here, but as we have the practice of every week coming together, so 2 other small sessions would be continued in the next weeks. So that flows from the how aspect of it, the learning aspect of it. So we will be only having the initial part today. Now, as an introduction, the beginning of strategy. Strategy is a term derived from the ancient military. Its origin is from the Greek word called strategia, which means the art of a troop leader, or you could call it an officer or a general in the army, or the chief of command in the army. The art of that person, how he handles the war. That is the word that the word strategy is derived from that. And we also know that history is the story of nations fighting each other, and some of the nations winning the war, and that is what happens, and that is why history is recorded, and we know that. And of course, as we understand this topic of strategy, we are all very familiar or comfortable with another word called tactics. So the day-to-day activities that we do. So take the example of war. So strategy is the war, and tactics would be the small battles that they fight. In a war, there are several battles. So if you want to win a war you have to fight several battles. So we will have this idea in our mind. So whenever we talk about strategy, it is little long term, it is futuristic, and we need to have that picture in our mind. Well, we are Christian missionaries, we are Campus Crusade. We are in a war, right? We are in a war and our enemy is very powerful, and it is very important, therefore, how we equip ourselves to be both strategic and tactic. And we need to understand that. And also the strategy, the term strategy is so much used in the context of management. And every time you mention strategy, it has the connotation of managing some of the future things. So how do you manage the future things? There was a study conducted by the Wall Street Journal, and it shows that strategic thinking is the most important ingredient of leadership, or the most important quality of leadership. The ability to think strategically is very, very important for individuals as well as for organizations. And well, we all have some level of strategic thinking capability in us. But the question is, how do we sharpen our ability so that we will not be just surviving, but we will be thriving as an organization or as a team. I also want to bring some examples from history. And, when the colonial Africa was opened for market by the industrialized Europe, it happened in the close of the 19th century. And the shoe manufacturers from UK, Victorian England, they sent a group of marketing representatives to Africa to see the potential of market there. They went there, studied the situation, and one by one, all of them came back and they said, in Africa, no one wears shoes. So we don't have any market in Africa, except one guy, one representative from the Bata Shoe Company. He came back and said, no one wears shoes in Africa. So we have a very huge market in Africa. And today, if you look at Africa, you can see that Bata shoes are very common in Africa, and even in the rural areas, we could see Bata shops. So, it's a question of strategic thinking. It's a picture of insight, and we can see there is a parallel in the Bible, similar to this. Can anyone quickly say what it is?
Joshua sends the spices.
Exactly. Yeah, we are all experts in the Bible, right? Yeah, we can see that story from history of Bible, Canaan, where Joshua and Caleb and the group of people were sent to spy out the land, and they coming back and reporting. Except Joshua and Caleb, all the others said, this is a big problem. This is a blunder that we are going to do. Those people are giants, and we felt like grasshoppers. But Joshua and Caleb, they came back and reported that, well, the giants are too big that we will not miss them. And, the promise is too good that we cannot simply neglect it. So we will move forward. By the grace of God, we will move forward. That's again, we see how they saw the situation in front of them. And this is an example of strategic thinking. But look into the history of Campus Crusade. When Campus Crusade decided to make the Jesus film in the late 70s or early 80s, there were a lot of criticism from the mission leaders of that time. Many people personally wrote letters to Bill Bright discouraging him in this endeavor of making a film. And they said, don't make a film based on the life of Jesus. But we know Bill Bright did not accept all those arguments. despite of all those discouragement and criticism, he went ahead and he did the production, and we know what happened through Jesus Film. One of the biggest mission tools even today existing. And as you see, Jesus Film is becoming more and more important even in our ministry, becoming an MCC now. So I would say that was a very strategic decision Bill Bright had taken. It's a very good example of a strategic thinker. He saw the potential of using this film as a tool, a mission tool, and we know what happened because of that. See, when we look at all these examples, all those people, they had different perspectives, different worldview, and that is why it is very, very important for us to think about it, and we need to engage, and this is why it is so important for us. Now, strategic thinking versus normal thinking or conventional thinking. In strategic thinking or strategic thinkers, they see victory when others see defeat. And strategic thinkers see business profit when other people, run away fearing loss. And strategic thinkers see mission expansion when other people would see distraction of mission. So this is the difference between the normal conventional thinking and strategic thinking. Strategic thinkers, they are not afraid to ask questions or challenge the normal thinking, conventional thinking. They know that asking the right question is as important as finding the right solution. So strategic thinkers always would ask questions, and they would challenge the normal way of understanding so that they would find new insights and move forward and formulate new strategies. Well, there is a question coming to some of your mind probably. This looks like a business term, strategy, and people making business moves and making profit out of this. What is it to us, strategy and us? How is it connected to us? And so sometimes we think that we are a group of people who are guided by the Holy Spirit, and we are spirit filled, and we are people like that. So it's not about our strategy, it's not about what we foresee coming in, but it is, as the Lord leads, we do things, and that's who we are. Well, that's absolutely correct. I am not in any way saying or diminishing the importance of the Holy Spirit in our ministry. We are a spirit-filled movement. We are all spirit-filled individuals. There is no question about it. That is our foundation. That is our value, and we move on that. When you receive power, you will be my witness, and that is our definition. So there is no question about it. But at the same time, we, as Campus Crusade, we are a leadership organization. When I say leadership organization, what do I mean by that? And we are here to enhance missions by helping the body of Christ to make more disciples by using our mission expertise. In the Christendom, we are here because we have certain mission expertise, or we have certain tools that we develop. So using that, we can help make disciples, or we can contribute to the final command of Jesus to go and make disciples. That is why we are a leadership organization. When I say leadership organization, we are here to help develop more missional leaders. And that is one of the reasons why we consider this as important, because leadership and strategy goes together. And you cannot be a leader without the use of strategy, or without strategic thinking, you cannot be a leader. Well, look into our own organization now. Take a look at our organization, and on a scale 1 to 10, where would you say that we stand today as a leadership organization, or an organization that is thinking strategically? on a scale 1 to 10, where would you say that we stand? You know, can somebody show with your hand 1, 2, 3, 4? Where are we today? We are an organization. We are a leadership organization. How do you evaluate our organization? Kumar is saying 5. I don't think there is any other icons there that you can show 3 or 4. Okay, 10 or 9. Yeah.
Varun said it is 8.
8. Okay. Somebody is saying in the chat, I'm not seeing that, sorry. Or shout out loud. Okay. Just a number.
9.
9. Yeah. Okay. 8, 9, 5. Where are we? Okay. There is Sanju saying 7. Yes. Okay. How about others? How do you think? Where are we today as an organization? If 1 is the least strategic and 10 is the maximum, we all know the scales. Okay. Yeah. Jaishilan says we are a 9. Many people I see that you are saying that we are 9, we are 8 or 7. Okay. All right. So we have a varied understanding. 8.5. Wow, that is a very precise analysis. Wonderful. Yeah, I like that. 8.5. Good. So we, we have all these, ideas that comes to our mind. We have different way that we think about, and the question is, yes, we look at our organization at one level, but the question is, where are we as individuals and staff members in terms of engaging in strategy? How do we engage in the strategy? Or I'm sure all of you would remember that not so long back, we have all gone through that 2 days or 1 day. We would all at the beginning of the academic year, we all team members would come together. We'll have some discussion, and we have some plans. We'll pull out our calendars, and we jot down certain things. We fill some forms, all those things, budgeting forms, and we call it as strategic planning, right? We are all going through that. Well, most of us, that's it. At 1 year at a time, we engage in that event, and then we fold our strategic plans and we keep it somewhere, and that's it. And then we will wait for next 1 year, and we'll go run our ministry. So what we need to understand is strategy is not an event. It is an ongoing discussion, or it's a dialogue, or it's like engaging in that or thinking in that, constantly. Or it's not that is the difference between strategic thinking and strategic plan. Strategic plan happens once a while, but we engaging with that strategic plan, or we looking into the strategic plan and going forward with the strategic plan, analyzing it, all those qualities, if you could combine it together, we can call it as strategic thinking. Now, just imagine this: if your strategic plan can talk, what would it say to you? I want you to listen to this video. This is your strategic plan talking, right? Listen to it.
Hi, I am your strategic plan. It's been a very long time since we saw each other. You don't call or you don't talk to me. I am confused. What am I supposed to do? I remember last time at the beginning of the academic year you took me and you gave me all your attention for those 2 days. You told me how important I am to you and you promised to be with me and we worked together for the rest of the year. What happened? You never called me or never had a meeting after that. I remember you presenting me proudly to your Southwest National Leadership team. For few days, you were talking about me, and I remember you calling me when you had to prepare your position focus. But weeks and months went by, you are not giving any attention to me. Earlier you used to print a photo of me and keep me in your office, but recently you are not even doing that. I am just sitting in a corner of your computer. Well now, all of a sudden you are coming and calling me now? I know it's the next planning time. I am sorry, I am not a strategic plan like that.
Well, I hope it was interesting to you. You know, if our strategic plan can talk, I think it would it would talk like this, right? You know, this is what happens to most of our teams probably. Well, once a year we have an event, and we very seriously engage in that, and we send it across to our offices and done. After that, very seldom we take a look at it, and see, that is the difference. I think I just prepared this video so that it will talk to us, and it will bring that idea of strategic thinking to us. It's not about a team engaging in strategic plan at the beginning of an academic year. That's a great beginning. That is very important, and I appreciate all of you who are doing that. But it doesn't stop there. We need to continue. We have to be engaging with that document. And we always say strategic plan is the dynamic document. We need to visit it and see how we are progressing on it. And the whole engagement of that, I would call it as strategic thinking. Because when we are not thinking strategically, we will not act strategically. We will not be even paying any attention to our strategic plan and moving forward. Well, that brings us to the second part, the why strategic thinking. First of all, the first point is that we are living in a VUCA world. I'm sure some of you might have heard that word VUCA. It was first used in the year 1987 by the US Army when they were, just finished fighting the Vietnam War. And they used this term, VUCA, to explain the situation around them at that time, to describe what is happening around them. They said, the situation around them was volatile, they're uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So that is the term called VUCA. And I would say, if you look at the world today, post-COVID world is a VUCA world, and it is volatile, it is changing, and it is uncertain. We do not know what will happen tomorrow, and it is very complex. Very lot of complexities have added because of COVID to us, and lot of problems we are facing because of this. And our world is a VUCA world, and that is why we need to be strategic. And we need to become strategic thinkers, because the world around us is changing in a rapid way. And so a lot of complexity and uncertainty and ambiguity in front of us. And this is why we need to engage in strategic thinking. Secondly, I believe that as an organization, we are at the tipping point, or in other words, we are at the inflection point of our organization. And what is an inflection point? An inflection point is a change in environment that dramatically shifts some elements of our activities. That's a point where some of the, taken for granted assumptions will be thrown away. And, this is a point when old strategic pictures would dissolve and go away, and new strategic pictures will come. It's a time to start to rise to new heights. And at the same time, it would be a time, it would be a point from where certain things would go and stop. And it is a beginning of the end of certain things. At the same time, considering an organization, it is the beginning of rising into new heights. Now think about our organization. We are at that point, I believe, at the inflection point of our organization. After the 2020 goals that we had, and we had a long-term plan up to 2020, and we are at the point where certain things are going to go down and certain things are going to take shape further into further heights. To understand this, let me bring some examples from the industry. First of all, the taxi industry. Uber has taken over the taxi industry. We know the way taxi works is totally changed now. I don't have to explain it. We are all aware of that. Now, same way, the blockbuster TV industry or the theater industry is also overtaken by the OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, etc. And not so far away, the next one would be like, companies like DHL or FedEx would be taken over by drones coming and delivering things to your doorstep. These are the things, these are some examples that we can see about that inflection point where things change and radical changes happens in our surroundings. Now, let me ask you this: how would you explain this situation for our ministry? What are some of the taken for granted things that is going to change for us? Or what are some things that we need to start questioning? Or other words, what are some of the obvious things that are going to rapidly change in our ministry? This is a time I want you to open up. What are some of those things happening? Just unmute yourself and say. You have seen how rapid changes happened in the industry. And now look into our own ministry. What do you see happening? How are things happening?
Everything is becoming online these days.
Ministry becoming online, yes. What are some other things that you see? Somebody else? Go ahead, Jalshilan, you were about to say something.
Now, so regular we are doing the things. Before the days is better than now. Ministry and everything is regular.
Yeah, we have regular programs going on now, without any obstacles or interventions, because it's online. We are doing so many regular programs. Okay, wow, that's a great insight. That's a very good positive way to look at things. Somebody else, what are some of the things that is changing around us? Or
And also,
go ahead, Lydia.
yeah, the way like we are learning things digitally, it's not like age wise. Now everybody are learning things digitally.
Yeah, starting from LKG student to us, old people, we are all learning digitally. Wow, that's a good thing that is changing around. Yes.
We can also connect with the people anywhere in the world because we are doing it digitally. First, there were limitations. We can do like within our own state, but now we can connect.
Sister, could you repeat it? Your voice was breaking.
Yeah, I was sharing that we can connect with anywhere in the world because we are doing it digital.
Oh, yeah. The geographical differences are diminishing. There is no geographical boundaries now. And even look at our global structure is taking away one layer, right? Okay, so geography is becoming smaller. Yes.
Learning is become a very speed.
Yeah, fast learning is
Fast
coming.
learning.
Yeah? Wow, that's great. Good. These are all very good insights. We have very good strategic thinkers in our group today. That's wonderful. That's very good.
Everything comes to our
Even
door.
the resources have become the digital. Earlier we had it in books form.
Yes. We are moving away from pencil paper model to digital resources. Wonderful. Varun, you were saying something.
I said everything comes to our doorstep.
Everything comes.
To our doorstep. No need to get out of the house.
Yeah, no need to get out of the house. So what a new age to live for ministry, right? Remember those days we would go sit on a stone bench, wait for that person. That scenario is changing, right? Okay, think about it. All right. Yeah, these are some changes that, thank you for engaging in the discussion. These are some changes that we are seeing, a lot of changes even happening in our organization. Structurally, there are a lot of changes. You are all aware of that. So now strategy is all about change. The question is, how many of you are you really like to change? When you hear the word strategy, it's all about change. And we all know everything is changing around us. But now the question that we need to ask ourselves, are we ready to change, or are we ready to think strategically to move forward? We are here today thinking about the strategic thinking, and we are thinking about why we are doing is because we want to develop in this area, and so I just want to bring a comparison here so you will get the picture a little more clearly. Now, if you can compare strategic thinking to traveling on an airplane, if you are comparing like that, I just wanted to, I'm just doing this exercise so that we ourselves, we will understand what is our motivation and what is our ability. The question is, do we want to change? Some of you may say, yeah, yes or no. But then the next question is, do I have the capacity to do that? So we are trying to understand that here with a little bit comparison. And this is where we are going to compare strategic thinking to traveling or traveling different places. Now we can see in the traveling example, there are 4 different types of people. We can see a tourist who want to travel. We can see a travel agent. We can see a TSA agent, that is the kind of an immigration officer, or we can see also a pilot, right? So all these people are connected to that example of air travel. Now take a look at this picture. The motivation and the skill, on this, the x-axis, if you go this way, it is the motivation to travel different terrains or different places. And on the y-axis, we see here, it is the knowledge and skill to do that. So consider the tourist who has highly motivated to travel different terrains of the globe, and a lot of motivation, but he may not have all the skills. He may not know all the places, or he may not know how to drive the plane, or he has a lot of motivation, but he don't have that much of skills in that. Now, the travel agent, he has a lot of understanding about different places, how to get there, what is the place look like, all those details he knows, but he is not interested in traveling much. His motivation is very less, but his understanding and skill are high. And again, we have the pilot. This guy has all the ability, he knows the place, he knows how to reach there, and he also wants to travel. And that's why he chose himself to become a pilot, that he can even travel to different places. He has the skill and he has the motivation of traveling and going different places. And we also, God bless all those immigration officers, but we have this group of people who are the security agents, they protect others from traveling, or they are the immigration officers. They don't have the skills of traveling, or they don't have the motivation to travel. Now, these are 4 categories of people. Now, in terms of strategic thinking, where would you put yourself? Are you a tourist? Are you a pilot? Or are you a immigration officer or TSA agent? Or are you a travel agent? I would like you to rename yourself with the category that you belong to. Let's see on the screen how many of us are tourists, how many of us are pilots, how many of us are TSA agent, how many of us are travel agent. Just rename yourself. I'm sure all of you are familiar renaming yourself. You know, this is the combination of your motivation to travel and your skill and understanding about the terrain to travel. Or in other words, the motivation for developing strategic thinking or traveling in that direction. You know, strategic thinking is also, you know, like thinking into new things, visiting new ideas. So, you know, my motivation for that and my skills for that. Where do I stand in this 4 quadrant? Where am I? Am I a tourist, or am I a pilot, or am I a travel agent? Rename yourself. It'll only take a few moments. All right, we have some pilots coming in. Good. Rename yourself. Yes, we have some tourists are there, some pilots. Yeah, we have a lot of pilots, I think. Yeah, that's great. All right, tourist. Yeah, I think we have a lot of pilots in our group today.
But no planes.
We have a lot of pilots, but no planes. We have some tourists also. Yes, yeah, yeah. A lot of motivated people to go in this direction. Well, we are conducting this program for those tourists. Yes, we will do it. Wonderful. Yeah. I think some of you are not able to rename yourself, it seems. So, yeah, most of you have done that. Appreciate you engaging in this. So we are, all of us fall into any one of those category. Either we are a pilot who are highly motivated and highly capable of changing, or we are the tourist, highly motivated, but we do not know how to do it. We will learn by the end of our time together. At least we will take to the next step. And hopefully we are not like the TSA agent here. No motivation, no skill also. I'm not against them, but anyway, I hope none of us are like that. So yeah, so I hope this also brings an idea about, okay, where do I stand in terms of moving in this direction of learning or becoming a strategic thinker? Where do I learn? Where do I stand? Now we are moving forward. So what is strategic thinking? So we are going to describe it in a simple ways. One definition goes like this: strategic thinking is the generation of insights on a continual basis to achieve advantage, and generating a lot of insights that would bring in advantage for our organization or ourselves. And we also need to understand strategic thinking is different from strategic planning. We already discussed about that. Strategic planning is putting all those ideas into a workable action plan. But strategic thinking is more than that. It is different. And so, as I said, strategic thinking is the generation or creation of insights. Planning is putting those insights into what you call a to-do list or an action plan. And strategic thinking happens on a daily basis. strategic planning happens only on a certain intervals. There is another definition I found out is that strategic thinking is, in terms of its purpose, is to discover novel imaginative strategies which can rewrite the rules of the competitive game and envision potential futures significantly different from the present. This is talking about the purpose of strategic thinking, and it says that it is the ability to discover new ideas, novel and imaginative ideas or strategies which can rewrite some of the rules that we play today, our game rules, our ministry rules, or our ministry strategies. And it can change so that potentially there would be, significantly different things would come up in the future. This is another way to understand strategic thinking. But basically, in a nutshell, strategic thinking is all about managing the changes. And, it's all about how do we manage the change. Things are changing around us. How do we manage that? That is all about strategic thinking. So when I was assigned to this topic, I had to go and learn myself. I referred a lot of materials, in fact, and in that I learned about the strategic discipline framework. And it is brought in the context of a business, but very relevant to our ministry and very relevant for us today to understand it. So I'm sure that some of you might have heard this thing called acumen, allocation, and action. This is the framework of strategic thinking. I listened to many videos about strategic thinking, and I understood that many people are repeating the same concept. So, and that is why I have taken this. So 3 aspects. And by going through this, I'm sure that we will get a little more understanding about what is strategic thinking. And these 3 disciplines or 3 elements of the framework of strategic thinking, we will unpack it here. We will go through this. So first of all, the 3 disciplines or the 3 components of the framework of strategic thinking. First is acumen. Acumen is the ability to make good judgment and make quick decision. It's all about our thinking capacity. An allocation answers the question, what time, talent, and treasure would I give to each of those strategic insights and the strategies that are developed from the insights I got. So acumen is all about the insights, understanding, thinking, looking into and seeing things. And allocation is we taking decisions on, okay, the limited resources that I have, I'm giving it, allocating it, or whether it is people or money, manpower or talents, allocating it for those strategies. And action is nothing but execution. It's the execution of strategy, and the focus is on the important issues, not the urgent ones. That is all about the action. What actions can I take to achieve the advantage? These are the 3 things. Now let me unpack a little bit here the acumen. And acumen is all about information or insights. It's all about our thinking capacity. And now in our context, look into our own ministry context. In our context, what is it? What would be acumen all about? It would be the ability to understand situations around us. It would be the ability to understand our audience. It would be the ability to understand the strongholds against us. And, it would be the ability to understand all these things and take a decision to move forward. As I said earlier, strategic thinking is a generation of insights or we could even call it as generation of strategic insights. We see so many things changing. We understand our audience, we understand the strongholds, all those things. And what are we gaining? What insights are we getting from that? Now, how do you generate insights? A lot of things you are seeing. How do you generate it? I just want to bring a day-to-day example here. When you read Bible on a routine basis, you read it and you understand it, and you affirm it as that is a good portion, and you are happy about it. You move forward. But when you go deeper into a Bible portion, or when you take a commentary and or dictionary to compare those things, and when you go a little deeper, you get some insights. You get some very unique principles, or you would get some very unique messages that God is giving you. Those are called insights. So there are some informations that you can gather by just casually reading through it. But by going deeper, you get those insights, and those things are specific to us, and those things are going to change us. I'm sure you are very familiar with this example when I gave you. Now think about your ministry information you have in front of you. Every month you are filling a statistical report. You are probably submitting an excitement, or even by yourself, you have a lot of experience, failures and successes. And you also hear about best practices happening here and there. Now the question is, how often we would go deeper into that information, or the question is that, what insights are we gathering from those information? I hope you're getting the comparison here. If you casually look at this information, or if you just simply fill out some statistical report, or you heard some best practices happening here and there, it can be just information for you. But when you go down into that or deep into that, you can see there are insights that you can draw out from that. And that is what is called acumen. That is the ability to generate insights. There is a difference between information and insight. Information is what you see at the first sight, and it is very obvious. Anybody can see it. And, there could be numerous information for a particular thing. But those information would boil down to some insights that help us make good judgments or quick decisions. I would say one of the problem with us in Campus Crusade is that we have a lot of information. We are an organization who have a culture of submitting so many reports and this and that. But then we are not very careful about going down and asking questions about it. We are not good in asking questions to some of those statistical analysis or things like that. We don't compare it with our current situations inside or outside our organization. Sometimes we are not excited talking about that. Sometimes we are not excited about talking about our own shortcomings. We failed. We never say that we failed, or we don't understand. We just brush it under the carpet, and we neglect some of those insights that is coming to us. When you see things, we need to go inside that and understand it. If you want to create those insights for your ministry, you need to combine some of the informations. For example, if you look at a statistical report and you're seeing that there is a dip in one of those statistics, like the multiplication number is going down, and at the same time you are seeing that your number of meetings are increasing. So these are two informations. When you combine those two information, you can understand that all the increased number of meetings are actually reducing the multiplication. I'm just giving an example. Don't take it as I'm talking about our own ministry, but I'm just giving an example. If we don't see that picture, we are not diving deep to analyze it. And that is an example of an insight. Well, the iceberg is a very good illustration of insights. If the iceberg represents the body of insights, most of the time we deal with the tip of the iceberg. As we all know, that's a phrase that we always use, the tip of the iceberg. 90% of the iceberg is under the water. That represents all the vast depth of values and beliefs and thought patterns and all. Only what happens publicly visible to everybody, the behaviors we see on the tip. So if you want to generate insights, we are talking about acumen. That's all about generating insights. So if you want to generate insights, we need to go deeper. We need to go dive deep into the breadth and depth of this scenario and understand the key details. And so that is an example I can bring. So acumen is all about generating insights, and it is the ability to think deeper or think differently. There are different types of thinking that we can incorporate in strategic thinking. We'll be looking at it later as when we go into the how part of it. We'll be looking at it. I just want to ask a question here. When was the last time you as a person was enlightened or surprised by an insight? Before we go further, I just want to give you an opportunity to share that here. When was the last time you had an opportunity to understand your ministry? You got an insight from all those information that is surrounding your ministry. You gathered some insights from your recent ministry. Let's take a few minutes to share that here. A lot of things happening here and there, but you got a very, very strategic insight from that and you understood it. Can you share that?
Sam, would you repeat that one once again?
Yeah, I will repeat. I was talking about one of the elements of the framework of strategic thinking, which is called acumen, and which simply means generating insights or developing insights. And an insight is developed by combining several informations. An information is a statistical report or an excitement or a best practice or a experience, or all these things are several and numerous informations about our ministry. Combining all that, my question today to you is, what insight you gathered from that? Several things happened. You looked at your statistics, you got a lot of pictures about your ministry, but from that, what insight you gathered in the past 6 months? Some of you are leaders here. You do a lot of ministry evaluation. So in the past 6 months, as you looked at several information pieces in our ministry, what are some insights that you got?
As we are all now focusing on city planning and mission like that. So one thing like last month in Hubli city, pastors gathered together and they said it's a prayer. And there was some strategy that I found out, like in Hubli city, they're divided into different ward actually. So they were just saying that if one person really stand in the gap in a one ward, so it will be a great, instead of just generally praying for Hubli city, maybe like, one ward, one person taking initiative, knowing that streets and praying, that would be great. So I was just thinking, yes, it's a very good strategy. Like now in our ministry that, we are focusing on ministry now, city plan and city team as thinking, we need to have this kind of strategy so that we can reach out. So it's kind of information that I gathered that we can work as we work together hand in hand to reach out the city.
Thank you, Franklin. This is a very good information he gathered as part of outside perspective, pastors in the city thinking about a strategy. Yes, that is important. We will come to that. Again, let me repeat the question here. My question is, I hope you are all listening, pay attention. The next step is I'll be asking individual people here. So pay attention. See, we have so much of information, statistical report, excitements, and now and then, as just Franklin now shared, best practices. He saw a best practice, or even we have best practices inside our organization. One team doing something good. We see all the information coming in our WhatsApp community. We also experience one-on-one failures and successes in ministry. Those are all information for us. Combining all those information, what are one or two very key insights you came to understand in the past 6 months?
Okay, Sam, I'd like to share one, maybe this is not a region-wise, but a personal thing. The last month, I could able to talk to a couple, and just I thought spending some time, talking to them about ministry, and then they said, okay, they'll come home. So they came home. Almost we spent 3 hours, and I was just sharing all Leader Impact because the guy is into business, and the lady also highly placed professional. I thought this would be a great opportunity for them to become one of the key people in the city to reach out leaders. And so it took almost 3 hours. We had a lot of fun, fellowship and enjoyment. And so then I thought, okay, from next week on, I can expect that this will be a regular, kind of a customer in the sense. Okay. Anyway, but after that, I didn't get much response. But later, I started talking to this guy personally, kind of texting him, trying to understand a little more about the family and their struggle they go through. And I understand that they have teenage boys were creating so much problem. And now they are bothered too much about the issues their family is going through, especially with the teenage. So they were expecting not doing any ministry as such, but at the same time to settle their issues first. How we could even help these children to have a right relationship with God and parents and things like that, which I fail to understand. So normally, we don't scratch where there is itching, but we just wanted to accomplish our purpose in whatever agenda we wanted to accomplish. Yeah.
Thank you, James Chan. One information coming into, probably the information is that when he talked with that couple, he understood that there are so many things beneath the iceberg, there's something under that. And he spent some time diving deep, got some things, and then now it's a totally different ministry. It is not Leader Impact customer. He is a customer for family life, mentoring. You see the difference? He went with the idea of Leader Impact, ended up in ministering to the family. So one insight giving us a change in direction.
Not family. I would say student venture.
Yeah, student venture. Yeah, I just said that. Yes, Achan. Yeah. So see, diving deeper would unearth some of those insights that we can. I'll share one of my experience recently in the Zoom meetings and all. We have a discipleship group started from Bangalore, and we are continuing that. And every time my excitement is to share about multiplication. How many disciples you have. That's the theme of my talk every time. One day, one guy from Nepal he is a convert, a Hindu convert from through our ministry. And he said, Uncle, every time you are talking about how many disciples you have, Uncle, don't ask that question. You talk about what am I doing in Nepal? I'm helping poor people. He's a speech pathologist, and he is helping a lot of poor people without taking money. He's helping them. So he said, Uncle, ask that question. I'll tell you what I am doing. So it all of a sudden gave me a lot different insight about my own ministry. I thought I was very successful, very focused, very strategic. I'm always emphasizing multiplication as a campus crusade staff. So it was almost like a blow on my face saying that, Uncle, turn around, do something else, look into the impact, look into the, impact in human life. So that was a lesson that I learned. Then from that point, I haven't started, exciting them about those numbers and multiplication, but I started talking about quality. It's just one example. What are some other thoughts you have? I just want to engage you in this so that only then we will get a picture of how are we going to gather these insights and then turn away. Go ahead, anybody.
Recently, I heard a testimony about a person called Ajal Peter. He's a missionary in Iraq. So he was sharing that he used to cry to the Lord, telling, Lord, give me Ibrahim, give me this person, give me this person. He used to claim the name of all those persons. So he was telling that there's a verse in the Bible, Psalms 2:8 says that, ask to me and I will give you. So that was a great insight than claiming the name. Many times we'll share the gospel to people. When they don't receive, we just leave them like that. But we can continually pray for them. And he was telling that Ibrahim, that person, he tried to share the gospel for around 12 years. He didn't receive. But after the 12 years, when he started praying, Lord, let touch him, let the Holy Spirit come upon him. After that, when he shared the gospel, he received. So that was a great insight for me, that we should not leave people like that, thinking that they are not elected by God. We can continually pray for them, claiming the name of them. We can pray for them. That was a good lesson that I learned.
Thank you, Gigi, for sharing that. Even an external information can change or can bring insights to us, right? Franklin also shared an external strategy of pastors brought an insight for us, and it can happen. Anybody else like to share?
Sometimes the informations which really help us to make the needed changes in our ministry. So sometimes when we evaluate 6 months ministry or 1 year ministry, so we will think that why things are going on well, why things are not going on well. So we can evaluate it and make necessary changes in our ministry based on the information.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. When you carefully look at our statistical report and we analyze it, so we can understand certain trends happening. I see a trend in certain things going down or certain things going up. What is happening there? So we will combine that information with some other information, and then we will get a real picture. That is called an insight. Let me share also another example from my own ministry here in Mysore. We were seeing that many of our engaged leaders were very busy in their church. So they are committed for ministry, but their pastor also is more than committed to use them. I am trying to get their time and talent, but pastor is also trying to get their time and talent. So this is an information I got, but when I understood the different possible pictures of it, this is giving me an insight that I need to think differently. How can I engage in a ministry where even the local church can benefit out of that? Even pastor will not be threatened by my ministry, but he will be benefited by ministry. So I started talking to pastors about how can we, launch leader impact in a church. or how can we help the Christian professionals in a church so that they would become kingdom leaders, at the same time they would become missional leaders in the church. So one church is excited, we are working with them. No, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that everything is successful, we are yet to see the success, but I'm just saying how it changed our thinking about mission. So yeah, so we have 5 minutes of what you call gap here now. So anybody want to use that gap, go ahead and use it. Coming back, we will look into the how aspect of it, but just one element of how, we'll quickly run through it. There is nothing more I can teach you. I'm also getting this information from various resources and compiling it for our purpose here. It's not that I created all these things. No, I just taken it from certain literature, certain materials. I'm gathering it and I'm presenting it to you. We are going to together learn it. So don't worry about all these things. We are going to learn it together. So take a short break. And yeah, even during the break time, you can think about various information gathered in the past 6 months. I would like to actually ask some of the leaders here. So you have been, evaluating the teams, those who are team to team call coaches. You have been evaluating the ministry. And so you probably would have a lot of insights to share. So maybe come up and share some of the, so that we get an idea about it. So take 5 minutes break and come back. You don't have to leave the instrument. You keep it there, and after 5 minutes, we will gather. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so we were talking about the 3 elements of the framework of strategic thinking, which is acumen, allocation, and action. And we looked at acumen as the gathering of insights. How can we gather insights? The next one is allocation, because our time in front of us is very less. So I'm just going to rush through this actually now. Allocation is all about, we allocating funds or people or time, talent for that. And strategically, how do we do that? And based on our insights, how do we change that? There is always a limited resources available, and strategic thinking helps us to allocate in the right time for the right strategy and the right way with the right amount. So that is very important. And not only talking about funds, we are talking about people, right people assigned at the right projects at the right time, or people with the right talent, incorporated in the right projects. All these things are part of allocation. And it is very important for us to think in that direction. When we think about, manpower we spend in our ministry, the amount of time that we use for ministry, we have a tendency to engage in so many things. We don't stop anything. But we probably need to strategically think and try to understand what are some of those things that brings us maximum advantage and allocate more resources to that level. And, again, talking about our allocation, we all, Campus Crusade is an organization that is very much strict about our allocations and fund balances. Most of the time in our team meetings, we look at the balances, what balance we have, budget comparison. Are we spending based on the budget? Abraham, did you say something?
No, Sam, you can continue.
Okay. So in our day-to-day ministry, in our team evaluation, some of the information that we look at is, budget comparison report. We're looking at, are we spending what we said we are spending, comparing our expenses with the budget. But when was the last time we have taken a 1 year expense and analyzed it based on how much money we spend for meetings, how much money we spend for missions, how much money we spend for food, how much money we spend for creating new tools. I don't think we have a financial analysis like that. We don't look at the allocation of even funds, in a strategic way sometime. So this is where we need some changes. We need to strategically analyze things in front of us and take decisions. Now, the last one is action. Action is all about execution. And we have enough insights, we have enough resources, we have allocated it correctly. If that's the case, action or execution should take place automatically. But the sad thing is that researchers say that 50% of all companies and organizations, they lack execution. And so it is not that we are not executing because of laziness or we are wasting time doing nothing. That is not the picture. We are all very busy. And execution is all about understanding the important thing versus the urgent thing. Execution is all about understanding how can we implement things in the midst of the whirlwind that we are around, the day job. There are so many routine things that we are doing. In the midst of all that, how can we accomplish? How can we go on executing the important thing? And that is what is very, very important for you. Now, again, there are a lot of tools that we have that helps us in our actions, that helps us in doing things. So let me open up this for you and ask you, what are some of those tools that you use in your ministry to do evaluation? What are some of those tools that you have? Unmute and you can speak. What are some of those tools that you use for that helps you in execution?
STP, strategic thinking, strategy planning process.
Yes, strategic plan is a tool that we use. What are some other things?
Position focus.
Position focus, exactly, yes. On an individual basis, position focus helps us execute things. What are some other tools that we have? Your to-do list on a mobile phone is a tool that helps you execute well. And so we have a lot of tools. In Campus Crusade, we live in an execution culture. We have strategic plan, we have position focus, we have team-to-team coaching to evaluate the performance. We have coaching for individual staffs. All these processes are developed to make sure the execution will happen. In the midst of all the other urgent things that is happening day to day, we would execute on our goals, our wildly important goals. That is what we are supposed to do. And so I hope you see the picture of that, and it is very, very important. Now, our time here in front of us is very less, so let me go quickly here. The question is, okay, we saw why is this important and what is strategic thinking with the three elements of it. And now how are we going to improve on this? And this is the first part of it, and we will be looking at it next week also. Remember this is the disciplines of strategic thinking, or I would say elements of strategic thinking framework: acumen, allocation, and action. And if all these three things we maximize, or we are expert in all these things, we are the best strategic thinkers. Now, acumen is all about insights, and we are going to look at how successful people think. That is the tool that we are going to look at today. And next week, we will be looking at allocation, which is basically our priorities. And we again have a tool in Campus Crusade, which is outcome-based thinking. That brings in priority where we have to focus, right? And then action is all about execution. And again, in Campus Crusade, we have another teaching called the 4 disciplines of execution. So we'll look at that. So these are the 3 learning things that we will be looking at. The things that we are going to look at today is a quick glance at different thinking types. How Successful People Think is a book by John Maxwell. The points that I am taken from that is some of the points, some of the thinking styles from that. I also watched a video by one person called Dr. K.N. Jacob in the internet talking about strategic thinking. So he is actually connecting it with or an animal. Each thinking type he is connecting with an animal or a bird or a creature. So I thought it is a good way of doing it. So I'm going to use that here, and we will run through it quickly. Not that we need to spend a lot of time. We need to just see the different type of thinking, and we see how each of these different type of thinking is contributing to the element of creating insights. We are all talking about acumen. We are all talking about thinking and creating insights. When we see information in front of us, how do you think differently? That is our whole focus today. So the first one is creative thinking, and the animal connected to that is dolphin. And the dolphin forms beautiful patterns in the game. Is very friendly and a team player. So creative thinkers are innovators, and they always think out of the box ideas. You know, they are very, creative thinkers are innovators, and they solve problems in creative ways. They are born to create, and no circumstances is above them. They come up with very attractive ideas. Those are creative thinkers. As we always say, thinking outside the box. It requires to choose possibility over fear to think creatively. It also can be the difference between staying stuck in a place or staying stuck in the past and moving forward into the future. So creative thinkers always will have an innovative idea. And, the opposite of creative thinking would be like this. People who say, oh, we have always been doing like this. And why mess out something that is going on good? Everything is going on good. Why should we think differently? We are doing it for a long time like this. Why we change? That is the opposite of creative thinking. So creative thinkers always think about innovation. They are innovators. They think outside the box. And, we need to stop asking, how can I? And instead of that, we need to start asking, how can I? We always sometimes, I cannot do it, or can I do it? Or turn that question to how can I do it? And the inquisitive question of, okay, outside thinking, and how can I do it? Now, where is the critical thinking or the creative thinking intersects with the strategic thinking? Creative thinking without strategy, is like just art. You can just create something, you can call it art. But when creative thinking combined with the strategy is like advertisement, it has value. People want to buy it. And that's the difference. So the question that I want to ask you is this: when was the last time you have come up with an attractive mission strategy that others want to try out?
Sam, sorry,
I was muted. The the question that I wanted to ask you today is, when was the last time you have come up with an attractive mission strategy and other people wanted to try it out? So in other words, the question is, when was the last time I thinked creatively, right? That is the question. Now, moving on, the second type of thinking is reflective thinking, and the animal associated with that is elephant. Elephants are very consistent and progressive. You know, they attend to the important, not the urgent things. And reflective thinkers like that, they give priority to the important things, not to the urgent things. They would repeat successful patterns. They do what is tested and proven. This is reflective thinkers. It is also very important, and you know, there are some advantages about that. They question, they always ask the question, what do I feel? What do I think? What do I know? All these things they will ask themselves, and they are reflective. They think these questions. They don't misuse their power, or they don't, they don't misuse their strength. Those are reflective kind of thinkers. It is intersecting the strategic thinking. Well, I would say life is learned by looking back. When we want to learn something from life, we look back. But life is lived in the front, or when we look forward. Life is lived looking forward, but life is learned by looking at the rear mirror or looking back. So, the reflective thinkers, they would study the history, and so that would inform their present, and they shape the future. And so strategic, they are the reflective kind of thinkers. Now the question is, what is one thing you learned from your past ministry experience that shaped your current ministry strategy? So this is a question that you are going to ask looking at your strategic plan. Okay, so what is one thing that you learned from your past ministry experiences that became a strategy, that became an insight, and you brought that as a new idea in your current strategic plan? So you're going to look at your strategic plan and answer this question. This is also helping us look at, okay, where did I think reflectively? What is my ability? Did I think reflectively in the past? That is the question that we are going to ask in this. So this is reflective thinking. The next one is focused thinking. The animal is cheetah. Cheetahs zero in on their prey. They capitalizes on the speed, not on the strength. So likewise, focused thinkers concentrate on a topic very deeply. They are not distracted. They zero in on what they are doing. They are very focused, and they focused on one topic very deeply. They're not distracted. And now, where is this focused thinking intersecting with strategic thinking? We all already learned strategic thinking is all about allocating for the important things, right? And so this idea of focused thinking is all about understanding the priorities, what is our priority, and focus on that priority. And in an essence, strategic thinking is to identify what is the priority for us, or in other words, what we should avoid doing, or what is certain things that is distracting us, and stop that and focus on the important thing. Those are the focused thinkers. So the question that we need to ask is, what are some things You eliminated from your mission strategy because you applied, because of your focused thinking. Now you are going to look at your strategic plan and you are going to answer this. What are some things in my current strategic plan which I didn't include from the past plans? I avoided it. I eliminated it. In the new strategic plan, it is not there. What is that? I eliminated something. What is that eliminated? Why did you do that? So that is what that helps us to understand, are we focused thinkers, or are we simply cutting and pasting from the past strategic plan to this strategic plan? Everything that we did last time, we also do it this time. No thinking at all. We are not focusing on certain things. So that is focused thinking. Now, realistic thinking is the next one. The animal is tiger. Tigers don't shout its trigitude. It pounces. It's a term that they use. And what I understand is that, tiger would not stand in the forest and say, I am the tiger. He will not announce himself as the tiger, but he will just pounce on the prey and finish it off. If you walk where the tiger walked, you can only see skeletons. So that means, they are focused. They are, they just pounce on the prey. It relies on its strength and power. Realistic thinkers recognizes the fact, and they build on it. They take their dream from wish to will. They are not simply talking about it, but they accomplish it from wish to will. And they estimate budgets before committing. And they just don't anticipate things will happen. They just engage in doing it. They depend on their strength. And realistic thinking is the ability to recognize the facts and work on it. From dream to from wishing to willing. We put our willpower to that. And they always want to work with the tangible things. They estimate budgets before committing. They are not operating in any vague ideas. They are very clear about things. And they are very realistic about what is at hand today. And, in strategic thinking also, we see that there's an intersection happening there. They would identify their strengths and use their strength, and they identify their weakness and they maximize, or they would try to negate that weakness, and they try to make that weakness into a strength. That is how they use this type of thinking, realistic thinking. Where am I today? What are my strengths? What are my weakness? And then use it in my, and they don't simply anticipate, oh, everything will happen fine, but I have to do something. I calculate it, I budget it, and I do things. Those are the people. Now the question is, what is one strength you identified and used in your ministry to become strategic? This is again looking at your strategic plan. You're going to answer this question. As a team or as an individual, what is one strength that I identified that we have as a team or as an individual, and I brought that into my current strategic plan? So I am strategic. I understood my strength and I am going to use that. What is that? This is the question that you are going to ask. Now the next one is possibility thinkers, and the creature connected to it is shark. Sharks swim dangerous depths at phenomenal speeds, and it is fearless in its domain. Shark is fearless at the deepest sea. It can, swim in phenomenal speed. The possibility thinkers are see solutions in seemingly impossible circumstances. Possibility thinkers do not know what cannot be done. There is no impossibility in their vocabulary. So they always are, they have a possibility attitude, or what you call, what is the word that we use for that? There is one word that we commonly use, right? I just I'm not getting that word right now. Can someone help?
Optimist or pessimist?
Yes, optimist and pessimist, right? I also heard a joke, when the optimist, pessimist and the realist, they were all talking about whether the glass is half empty or half filled. And when the optimist and the pessimist were discussing, the realist drank that water. So, anyway, we are talking about possibility thinkers. They always see things happening and there is something for them there. All right, the question for you would be, what are some daring possibilities you suggested in the survey for Beyond 2020 Ministry? We all did that survey some months back. All of you remember that. What was one daring possibility that you suggested as a ministry we should move forward? Or it could be even a suggestion that you have right now. What is that? You could write that. Possibility thinkers don't have impossibility as a vocabulary in their minds, right? Mahatma Gandhi said that like this, man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If I keep on saying to myself that I cannot do certain things, it is possible that I may end by really becoming incapable of doing it. On the contrary, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it well. Even if I may not have it at the beginning, I will achieve it at the end of that. So this is what Mahatma Gandhi said. I'm sure that, he practiced it well because of all this impossibility was in front of him, but he never found that is impossible, but he fought and he won. And strategic thinkers also need to have this possibility thinking. Otherwise, we will not be able to move forward, and we will be limited by our ability to move forward. So again, this is another type of thinking. The next one is the bottom line thinking, and lion is the animal associated with it. Lions are brave. They dares beyond their capacity. And bottom line thinkers are competitive by nature. They're driven by ambition. They always want to know what is there for them. What are we getting out of this? They always think about the bottom line. It is a financial term. They are not interested about, how much income or expense, but what is the bottom line? What am I getting out of this? So, this is also a very good thinking style for strategic thinkers. What are we getting out of this? I want to understand that, and that makes us be strategic. The question here is, what would be one of the bottom line measurement score you would introduce as a strategic thinker to better evaluate our mission beyond 2020? Now we are in the process of changing GMA, and there is a task force going on discussing about new measurements. Now, if somebody asks you, okay, what would be a bottom line measurement that you want to introduce to evaluate our mission, what would you say that? What is one measurement like that? So this is just to bring in that aspect of bottom line thinking. Want to know what we are getting out of this. All these measurements in our GMA is supposed to help us understand what are we getting out of our ministry. So do we look at the bottom line, or do we look at the wide array of all the things? I turn to left, I turn to right, went there, I went. All these things can become statistics. How many times I read it, how many times I did that. All these things are information. These are all can become measurements. But as a bottom line thinker, what would be one or two things that you want to introduce? Again, don't take me wrongly. The measurements that you are going to suggest is may not be taken or may be taken, but this is an exercise for you to think about your ministry. And what would you look at? Are you looking at the bottom line to understand the whole picture? That's the question here. Now, the next one is the big picture thinking. And as obviously it is the giraffe who can see, he's can see the whole jungle, and giraffes see as far as the jungle is. And just like big picture thinkers can see things that others are not seeing. Big picture thinking is the ability to understand and navigate uncharted territory. They don't like to pick the low-lying fruit, but they want to pick the high-held fruit. So they are people who go for the premium products. They don't want to be satisfied with, what is there, I would be satisfied. What can I see? I will be satisfied with it. But they would be a big picture thinker. They would be looking beyond what others can see. This ability of big picture thinking also is very, very important for us when we talk about creating insights, acumen. We are talking about acumen, we are talking about generating insights, and all these thinking patterns are important for a strategic thinker to incorporate it. And all these things contribute to that. The question that you would be asked is this: what is one future thing you see about our mission beyond 2020? What do you see going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years? So the question is asked to understand your big picture thinking capacity. What do you see going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years in our ministry? What would you say? Now that brings us to finish up with the strategic thinking itself, and the animal connected to that is eagle. There is a lot of leadership lessons that we can learn from eagle. We don't have time to go into all that. Eagle operates from a vantage point. It faces any stormy weather. In fact, it maximizes the storm to fly high. And, they rises from the ashes. Likewise, strategic thinkers take control of tomorrow by thinking about it today. And they incorporate the benefit of different thinking styles. They think about the future today, and a strategic thinker is one who would incorporate all this type of thinking that we discussed here. And eagle is a animal or a bird, a very, very peculiar, very powerful bird. In a way, eagle can look at the sun and not blinded. But immediately eagle can also look down, probably 5,000 feet below, and find its prey, maybe a squirrel or a rabbit. And it can immediately come down and get that prey and, be airborne again. It can do that. Only that eagle has that capacity. So it would, in other ways, strategic thinkers would see opportunities and they would seize opportunities. So, this brings us to the end of our presentation here. And so as a strategic thinker, the question you would answer is this: what is one strategic move you have done during the last planning time as a strategic thinker? I know some of these questions are intertwined. Some of the things that you're answering for certain questions also would reflect here. But again, this is just an exercise for you to take a look at your team strategic plan, read through it, and answer these questions. By doing that, we are asking ourselves, how am I a creative thinker? How am I a realistic thinker? How am I a reflective thinker? How am I a bottom line thinker, a big picture thinker? I'm asking all these questions to myself, and this would definitely help us gain that understanding of moving forward in the strategic thinking element. So let me just pause here And let me ask you if anybody has any comments or questions or suggestions. Let me also bring in the place where you would be doing your assignments, and I'll just give that to you. Yeah, this is a time for you to ask questions actually. So anybody want to ask any questions? Okay, for a moment, I would ask you to just take a look at that link. Can you click on the link and it should open up a page for you? Can all of you do this? Because this is where your assignment also is there. And the recorded session will be there. And I'm going to attach several resources to this page. So you would get all the resources, including the PowerPoint. I will send it there. So you can have a go through it again if you want to. So are you able to get to that page?
Not able to see the link. Can you show it
Yes.
one more time?
Okay, let me send the link again to everyone in the chat box here again. Are you able to see it now in the chat box?
We got it, uncle.
Okay. Everybody got it or only few of you?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, so I think almost all of you got it. Let me also then, for the sake of others, I will share that page in my computer. So the page should look like this. All the recording session will appear here and other resources. I haven't added any resources. I'll be adding the resources here. And your assignment will be here. If you click there, this is the assignment for session number 1. Next week, we'll have outcome-based thinking and execution. Then we will have their assignments there. So this is session 1. Now, let me click on this and show you how it would look like. Are you able to see the form now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
Yes, yes.
this is the assignment for you. So for each of this thinking type of thinking that we explained today in the meeting, there is a question to that. So you can give your answer. And when you give your answer, remember you are answering it from the basis of your strategic plan. So that's the only thing in this. So I hope this would be easy for you to keep everything in one place, and the recording will be posted there, so you can watch it there. And any other questions?
Acharya, the assignments you will be adding later, no?
No, I already, the link is the assignment. The link that I send you, keep that link. We will be sending this link in the WhatsApp community also.
Okay,
So
now
the
we can
link-
see. Now we can see only up to recording of session will appear here.
Yes,
Maybe.
on the top, you see assignment is there also.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Now it's.
And there is a page for resources. I'm going to add. I didn't add it. I will be adding resources related to strategic thinking. Some of the PDF files that I have found, I will be adding it there. So
Okay.
I told you, I didn't create all these things. I taken it from here and there. So I'm going to give you all that. You will get all that. This is not something that I created, but I grabbed it from here and there. So I was only trying to bring this topic relevant to our context today as Campus Crusade staff. That's what I was trying to do. So you can elsewhere use it as well, no problem. All right, I think let me stop the recording here.